Hey everybody, welcome to my showcase of the System Shock Remake Speedrun. This game came out just a couple months ago, but the OG of it came out back in 1994, so basically a 30-year gap between the original and the remake. It's a pretty faithful adaptation from what I've heard. I've not actually played or watched too much of the original, but they did change a few things here and there. So if you've played the OG, you'll be like, oh, this is kind of the same, but I'm sure the speedrun is not even close. We have some shenanigans to get up to, a lot of out of bounds. And we're just going to get into it because we have plenty of things to talk about as we run. So we're going to start a new game. We're going to play on all ones. You can change the difficulty of different parts. So our combat, the puzzles and all that, we're just going to set the one as we run past it. As you see, most of this isn't really going to matter, but once we skip this cutscene, time will start. So in 3, 2, 1, and we're off. We're in our apartment. It is the year 2072, and we're set in New Atlanta. Not New Atlantis, but they made a second Atlanta. We're flicking some switches here and there because for whatever reason that allows us to get this laptop open and we can hack into it sooner. Normally you just have to wait around, but by hitting a whole bunch of stuff, the game's like, oh, you're doing stuff, you're interacting, you're free to move on. So we are a hacker and we're about to get caught here and taken up to the Citadel Station, which is where a lot of the plot and basically the entire game is going to take place. It is a space station off of Saturn. And you know anything about the System Shock series, it's where everything kind of takes place. All of the big familiar names and features. But first we have to get captured. So there's a cutscene that's going to play out, but we're actually just going to skip right over it, where we agree to help Edward Diego, who is kind of the vice president of the Citadel itself, hack in and remove the ethical constraints on the AI running the ship known as Shodan. Now it is 6 months later, we've woken up, we've made a deal, we've done those things, and it turns out Shodan has kind of taken over the entire station. Surprise, surprise. We're going to pick up a whole bunch of stuff here at the beginning of the game and make our way into the first area known as the medical bay. We're going to kill this robot that looks like it's straight out of Power Rangers and put in the infamous code 451. If you've ever played an immersive sim game, the Bioshocks, Deus Ex, Prey, or really any other game, 451 is a very infamous code, usually on the first door in the game, and it kind of originates from Looking Glass Studios, and more specifically from the OG System Shock. So we're picking up some stuff along the path. We're getting these med packs, which are kind of like items we can use to boost certain stats. We're getting some stamina ups, which allow us to have more stamina as we go through here. We're going to pick up a grenade and this hidden wall. We've also picked up some berserk packs, which allows us to do more melee damage, and getting some med packs to allow us to heal. So we have our health in the top right corner and our energy. The energy is going to be useful for weapons, as well as a few other things here and there. But in order to leave medical and advance further in the station, we need to lower the security low enough to activate the elevator. And to do that, you can either destroy cameras around the area, like this one up here, which we're not going to do, or you can go destroy the big power relays, which are on every station. We're going to get our first weapon, or first gun, I should say. We have the handy-dandy lead pipe. But now we're going to try to go out of bounds, so we're going to do a quick save, quick load when we're crouched. And when we load back in, the game's going to make us stand straight up, and this object can move around, making it a little tricky. So yeah, by loading, the game will force us to stand up, which will conveniently place our head out of bounds. And now I'm entirely relying on the minimap in the bottom left-hand corner and my own knowledge of the game to navigate out of bounds on top of the area. And sometimes when you quick save, quick load, you can get the ability to see what you're doing again, which is pretty nice. So these are the power relays that I need to shoot, and I actually need to swap my weapon to being more damage. This weapon can be a low charge damage, high charge, or overpowered, which we can turn here, blow up these generators, and now the relays have been destroyed. But that is only part of the out of bounds. We have to get back in bounds, which is substantially harder. We need to navigate over to the cyborg reconstruction thing. And we need to activate it. So if you've played something like Bioshock, the successor to this franchise, You may remember Vita Chambers, which when you die, they're a spot that you can go and get revived. You don't have to start the game over. You don't lose progression. So we activate it. It acts in the same way. Whenever we die, we're going to warp back to one of these, as long as they are activated in the level. That gets us right back in bounds. And now we have access just to leave medical. There's nothing left for us to do here. It's kind of the introduction stage of the game. And we're heading up to research, where we begin kind of the first big quest. This is the laser mission, and it allows us to traverse across different levels, including the research we're in now, reactor, maintenance. And we need to stop a laser by overcharging it before it gets shot, so it gets destroyed. So we're going to activate another cyborg station here, just to the right. And now we need to take care of some enemies, because I'm about to lose stamina. We don't actually have the thing that shows us our stamina, because we didn't pick it up at the beginning of the game, so we don't really need it. It just kind of wastes time. But we do have it. After running for a bit, you will start running very, very slowly. Stamina up is going to let us run at full speed for a while. Use a med pack to heal up, and now we need to grab a key card. These back offices, and there's actually a second key card that we want to do in the back hallways. So we want to go and grab that from a dead body, which is going to allow us to skip a puzzle section down in the reactor. So it's just going to open a door, which is very, very handy. We're going to grab a pistol, which is going to allow us to destroy some cameras later on. The fastest way to get out of this section is to do a death warp. So we're going to throw a grenade on the floor, pick up a keycard from this body, and this is going to take us back to that cyborg reconstruction area that we just passed. You can see a lot of death warps early on in the game. We used to have a lot more death warps, kind of into the mid to late game, but those got replaced with some really confusing save warping, time traveling, universe hopping stuff. Time travel and timelines are not really a part of the game from a base lore perspective, but in the speedrun, things get a little crazy. So we're gonna go grab the isotope from here, take some radiation damage. And I don't really need to kill off these enemies, but you know, they're gonna try to damage me. So if they're in the way and I can one-shot them, why not? Just gonna leave that guy behind. Now, I will need to come back up here, because in research is where the controls for firing the laser are. So I need to do all of this stuff, and then we're going to death warp right back up here. So I don't want to hit any more of those cyborg reconstruction things. I'm going to pick up a power node here. It's a little yellow thing. And that will let me basically auto-hack any puzzle that I choose. Makes it very, very useful. I'm going to head down to the reactor and just drop my lead pipe. So I want to have a different weapon on one eventually. We just don't currently have that weapon. Gonna overcharge these robots. Pick up another power node for later in the run. And the puzzles aren't really too bad to solve, but they are randomized from a certain pool of correct solutions. So every time you go to do a puzzle, it's going to be slightly different per run, which makes them really, really awful to do. And why we try our best to skip them at all cost. So we're going to plug in the isotope we picked up back in research, pull the switch, and then we need to go put in a code. I might not have enough health. I might need to redo this part. We'll see. This is going to be a little bit of a close call if I make it. So this is all in radiation, meaning I take constant damage. Yeah, okay. Luckily, we have saves, so if I ever mess up, I can just quickly reload. And the radiation builds up over time. You can see it in the top right corner. So even if you get out of a section that has radiation, it will still continue to do damage for you, to you, until it's run its course. It's really annoying. And this guy just killed me. Okay. The problem with overpowered shots is once you've used it, it does have a cooldown. This guy doesn't want to move. So if you miss a shot, which is very easy to do, you will just have to wait for it to cool down some more. Let's try this again. The sad thing is we actually do want to die, but we need to put in the code for the safety override and then pull the switch before we do that. So we've pretty much completed the second quest of the game. We just have to go fire the laser so it blows up. And then we're on to what's known as the virus mission, which is a very convoluted and confusing part of the game casually, and for the speedrun, it's where things gets very crazy, very fast. So these blue orbs floating around will just sap all of your energy if you get too close to them. We don't really need energy at the moment, but yeah, try to avoid them if I can. Okay, so we press the button and we are free to go. That is the second quest of the game completed. Things get a little sketchy on the way back out because all these guys spawn in. And they have a ranged attack. This is why we pick up the med packs earlier. Those don't instantly heal you. They heal over time. There are things that do heal you instantly, but we won't get those for a little bit. So we're going to go up to maintenance. And this is where we're going to shoot some cameras out because we need to lower the security. And here, and each camera is about 4% off the security. That one get broken? Okay. There is these giant spores that are going to spawn in, and they are very deadly. So in order to take care of them and pretty much everything else in the game, we're going to come up here and grab the coolest weapon and the most broken weapon, the laser rapier. It's definitely not a lightsaber, definitely distinct. This will be our main weapon of choice going forward. Okay, so we've destroyed all the cameras. That is going to unlock this door here, just the med bay, where we're going to activate another one of these respawn points. We're going to grab a med pack. I don't really need to use this now, but it is nice to have. I'm going to use our last stamina up, and we are off to the flight deck. So the flight deck, we need one thing specifically from here. We don't really need to do any quest progression stuff, but we're going to come up here to get the turbo boots. The turbo motion boots. And we're actually supposed to get another pair of them, I think, down in the storage area, which is a place we don't go to. That's the version 1. These are going to be the version 2. So I'm going to set that puzzle in place. Let's get rid of these guys in the way. Okay, so once we grab the turbo motion boots, we want to once again death warp back, which makes it really convenient that these pterodactyls will do a lot of damage and attack in rapid succession. We're going to go back down to the maintenance section of the game. And we can begin doing our time-traveling, multi-universe shenanigans. We get a brief taste of it here, and we'll see a lot of it in Executive, which is the next big section of the game. First, we have to go grab a power relay. So we're going to auto-hack this puzzle. So we don't want to actually do the puzzles. Pull off one of these. These blue batteries will charge up your energy to its max and then go on cooldown. So I'd like to grab those when we can. Get a power relay, doesn't matter which of those you grab. And right out here, we are going to make a save. So, the way we need to go eventually is that door right there. That is the elevator to Executive, but we need to go do some more stuff in maintenance. The way that this stuff is going to work is the one we're going to clip out. Is normally when you reload a save, you do not keep any progression. That's how games work. You make a save, go do something, and come back. And, you know, your progression is gone when you save, or when you load again. A lot of games use save scumming kind of techniques to, like, go explore something, and if nothing's there, they warp back and learn stuff. That's not necessarily the case for this game. There are certain things and certain quest progression instances, like putting in this power relay, where if we load during a very specific part of the animation, we actually get to keep the progression from this, despite the fact that we're reloading a save that we just made. And that will allow us to just continue on. And we are going to fully abuse that in executive. So much so that we're making trips between different timelines with different saves. Trying to make a save here. And now, for this mission, which is known as like the virus mission, we need to stop the production of a certain virus by jettisoning these different groves. There's the Alpha Grove, the Delta Grove, and the Beta Grove out into space. So we're going to go do all these groves, and you can see it kind of takes a while to get to. Instead of death warping back or running back, we're just going to do a load and keep our progression all the way through. But like I said, it's very specific things that you can do this with, and very specific animations. So if I ever miss time, this stuff, it will not work, and when we get to what we need to actually activate, it has a chance of not working entirely, so that's no good for me. So the turbo motion boots we got earlier allow for you to fly. So now that we're out of bounds, we can fly through the air, land on some invisible stuff, because once again, we can't really see the map, unfortunately. This is probably the hardest trick to pull off in the game, just mechanically, because you need enough speed to land at certain heights, need a little bit more speed. So I'm basically navigating like via the mini-map, and then some little markers here and there against the wall. This might do it. Ooh, a little bit more to the left. So you can't get indefinite height, but you get a little bit of height from just a base jump, and then you can kind of float forever. So we're doing all of this so that we can peek back and bounce by crouching and leaning. I'm going to make a hard save here in case something goes wrong, but I need to pull this lever, and before I put my weapons away, we're going to load that that save I made back when we got into executive. So now I should have that switch activated, despite the fact that I reloaded a save. And we're going to go do that essentially 2 more times. So we're going to make another save here that we will come back to. And I'm doing a quick save, quick load to open these doors. For the Alpha and Delta, this doesn't save a whole lot of time. There's just a button you can press. For the Beta Grove that we get to here in just a little bit, it does actually skip going off and running to Edward Diego's office, which is a pretty good time save. We also hear Edward Diego's same dialogue a couple times because we're reloading the game. And for whatever reason, it just gets really loud. So Delta's a pretty quick one to do. Just going to fly up.
I say we deserve better. We deserve Shodan and her gift of immortality.
I will say there's always a chance of the game crashing when we're doing these save load stuff, so hopefully it doesn't happen, but the game is known to have some issues here and there. Alright, so that's our second branch done. Now, to get to the Beta Grove, there's a couple different ways you can do it, getting back in bounds. Ideally, you would skip this keycard and instead you would use your turbo motion boots to float underneath the floor and then do a save load through the floor, but that's a very sketchy trick to do, not one I'm personally a fan of, especially not for showcases like this. So we're just going to grab this keycard and then clip up through the ceiling. So again, I'm using the mini-map here and just some markers around the map to hopefully get where I need to go. And not every like roof that we're landing on is flat. A lot of these have varying heights, so you kind of have to like learn when you need to jump even higher or if you need to crouch over something. A lot of weird collision up here. So this little power relay on the map is a spot to make a save. This is a good indicator that we're in the right spot. You can crouch to load back in the map, and the key card is going to allow me to interact with this door. That's why I went and grabbed it. Gets us back in bounds, and now we're at the Beta Grove. So we're not supposed to be able to open this door, but if we do a save load, we can open it. And now we're going to make another save. And Beta Grove is where, from here to the end, we're going to start making multiple timelines. So we've already like done that a little bit, but we're going to start actually traversing through them. So I can actually use my first aid and Berserk here without worrying about using them because we're going to load back, right? So all of that gets undone. So I will be able to have these for future usage once we get past this area as well. Nice elevator music. This area is fully corrupted, which is why I need it full health. So that I don't die. Okay. So now we're going to go back to that one save we made before we got back in bounds on top of the map. Quick save again. And we're going to fly over to the master jettison switch. You're supposed to be able to pull this once you have all three of those things done and the power relay connected in maintenance. So if I get over here and this is working, we're all good. If not, we kind of have a problem, but let's see. Okay, thing is yellow. That's a good sign. So I'm going to make a save here. And once we pull this, that unlocks progression for the beta jettison grove. So we can go launch that. So we're going to go back here to a previous save that we made after opening the train car. So we have this jettison switch that we hit, break it, and then we're going to load that switch that we just pulled, which should already be pulled. But we're going to use this to get back in bounds. So we've now jettisoned all this stuff. Realistically, in this timeline, we never pulled any of the switches. We just pulled the jettison grove and then got back in bounds. It's kind of weird that things get a little confusing and hard to track. We just hopped through like 3 different timelines there. Well, that's the big obstacle of the run. We got past that, so I'm pretty happy. The rest is just doing some fun out of bounds. We're sticking in the same timeline. But we need to go grab ourselves one more upgrade. These are the Tier 3 boots. That allow us to fly a little bit faster, a little bit further, and it's going to come in real handy for the next level. But we're going to be entirely skipping the big quest from here on out. There's a quest that you need to do, like blow up the reactor and kind of shut down the station so that Shodan can't escape. That we're just going to entirely bypass by going out of bounds. We need to crouch up and save load here so we get out of bounds. Up on top of this part. Ooh. We don't need to actually solve this puzzle. This is actually for a return trip that we unlock a shortcut. We just need to interact with it so it pulls us back in bounds, and then we can immediately leave and fly up towards the end elevator over here. So typically your progression is stopped at this point by the next set of doors. But because we can just go out of bounds, the next set of doors don't really matter. I'm just going to come over here to this corner. If you've been paying attention, once again, we are just going to get into this little wedge spot, save load, pop our head up through the flooring, or through the ceiling, I should say. And this is another one where we have to do a giant hover around a whole bunch of collision and then come back in. So this one's a little bit tricky. Once again, looking at the mini-map, we need to essentially climb all the way up this room from the outside. And by that, I mean we're just going to immediately clip back in bounds by going up through the flooring here. I am doing this over the void, so I'm going to make a actual manual save and then quick save, quick load, hopefully pop up through. This one's a real nightmare half the time. Also, enemies will instantly spot you and become very, very problematic. So we're going to pop a heal, and we're going into a boss fight that you're supposed to have met several times. There's kind of 2 bosses you encounter throughout the different levels. You have Edward Diego, who's turned into a cyborg, and as you beat him, he kind of grows stronger, comes back. And so we're going to fight one instance of them that we're supposed to have, seen them a couple times by now. And then the other one is what's known as a Cortex Reaver, which is like this giant mechanical spider-looking thing that we'll see here in a little bit. But I'm going to pop a Berserk, which allows us to do more melee damage, and when he spawns in, we're going to throw an EMP at him, which should shut him down. And then with Berserk and the Laser Rapier, we can just go to town, grab the keycard off his body, and that allows us to move on to the bridge.
Warning. Air pressure rapidly decreasing.
So yeah, the whole quest of this area is, like I said, blowing up the ship, blowing up the reactor, which is stuff that we don't actually do. We don't go and do those quest lines, but we get a little cutscene here with some great elevator music. So you can see the bridge at the area we're going to floating up away. The rest of the ship just explodes. And all we have left in the game is to go confront Shodan and cyberspace and deal with that. So we have to get to her and then actually fight her. So we need to go out of bounds once again. Depending on how you're actually trying to get out of bounds, sometimes you have to do multiple save loads to actually clip all the way through. And then the way to get back in bounds here is we're going to actually hit a teleporter from the underside of it. So that it instantly warps us up to the boss fight. Not the Shodan boss fight, but the Cortex Reaver I was talking about before, that you're supposed to have seen a couple times by now. There's the teleporter. You have to land on a very specific spot underneath it. Okay. Just gonna go up here, crouch, and then uncrouch, and it'll warp us right back in. We pop Berserk, so we do more melee damage. We're gonna pre-cook this grenade and throw it. So when the Reaver pops in, they get hit by it, and once again, just go into town, grab the keycard from the body. And we are off to cyberspace. So cyberspace is kind of like the hacking terminals throughout the game that you're supposed to go to. And you're in like a dogfighting spaceship kind of thing. And you use that to unlock doors and unlock areas. We never go to those in the run. We just bypass all of them. But this is what it looks like. But now we're in a first-person mode of it. And this is definitely the weakest part of the game casually. And the speedrun, there's not anything we can do to speed it up. It's not super interesting as a boss fight goes. There's going to be 3 platforms that we need to visit. And on each platform, there are 3 waves of shooting the giant crystal in the middle of the arena. You have to shoot it 6 times to progress each time. So 18 shots per platform, 54 shots in total. And if you die, you just respawn on the platform. So you lose time, but you don't lose progression. So we're going to try our best to not die, shoot the crystal, and then the game's over. At least you get some cool music throughout here. So shout outs to the devs for making this game, and the OG devs as well for making the original System Shock and setting the groundwork for immersive sims. Shout outs to the devs that made the remake. But if we could get something to make this area a little bit more interesting, perhaps. I don't quite have the money to put a bounty on it, but if anyone is looking for a game to mess around with and find a potential skip for, I would love to have people look into the cyberspace fight here. It needs something. It's not a great area here. So we just gotta wait for this platform to move. Be visiting our first one. So most of the enemies don't really matter too much as we're going through here. You'll see giant purple ones. They are the most deadly. Their attack, it homes onto you and sticks on you and just will drain your health in an instant. So we have to step on this platform, which unlocks the crystal. And then once the crystal's gone, like the blue part of it, we can shoot it 6 times and it'll phase. So the purple one's off to my left there. A little scary. I don't really need to kill any of the enemies, but sometimes it's nice to take them out if they're going to find me. We just are trying not to die if we can help it. So we've done 2 phases. This is phase 3. If you're on these platforms and interacting with it, it can't kill you. Which is kind of nice, but they can still get aggressive. So as I'm trying to run away, they might drain my health. So that purple one is the most scary. But we got off the first platform. Got 2 more to go. This platform has a kind of unique enemy. It's like the upgraded version of the purple one. It's this giant orange guy. But if we position just right, he shouldn't be too big of a problem. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Those pink ones can be quite the menace. Alright, one more. One more phase and then one more platform. So there's the orange guy right there on the right. Oh yeah, they might actually kill me. Let's see if I can get away. No, okay. So we don't really lose any progression. We're still here. Kind of locked in place for a little bit. He killed me on the death platform. That's interesting. Now just trying to go away again. Okay. 1 death, not too bad. Maybe we can roll with that. You also don't like auto regen health. There's no way to get that back. So if you take a lot of damage on one platform and run to the next, you can just get one tapped pretty easily. It's very hard to actually not die, at least once. All right. Time coming up very soon once we get the animation after this platform. And this will have stopped Shodan. And we've saved the world until System Shock 2 happens. So if we die here anyways, it doesn't matter. That's the game. That is the System Shock remake in a nutshell. We've done it. We've hacked in, saved the day. And if any point you want to learn this game, I will hopefully be making a tutorial in the next few days. Hopefully posted on my YouTube on Friday. If not, hopefully by the weekends I'll have it up. So you can learn all the time traveling shenanigans and how to do the out of bounds. It's not too bad of a run to learn. Pretty short overall. You can get under 30 pretty quickly. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. You can find me on twitch.tv/BloodThunder if you want to watch me do runs of this live. Many other games I did Trepang 2 earlier in the night. Bioshocks, Doom, Wolfenstein, Amnesia, stuff like that. But yeah, if you want to go back and watch some previous runs, my previous record, don't have it anymore, or that tutorial, youtube.com/BloodThunder is the place to be. It's always fun to show off these games. Little shout out to Night Dive Studio over there on the left. Back in New Atlanta, back in our apartment. And I think that's all I got for you guys. Thanks once again, X, for having me. And maybe we'll see this at a mainline GDQ soon.
Awesomely. Thank you once again for doing the run. It was pretty wild seeing you able to break a System Shock. For anyone who plays this game casually, you probably know how difficult it really is. So, they a fun watch there. As well, if anyone has not been able to check out BloodThunder, the links are in chat, so feel free to go ahead and do that. Anyway, we do have 2 more games for the night, so don't go anywhere. We will be right